In 2026, the most valuable thing you can offer will not be your speed, your credentials, or even your talent. It will be something far rarer, something far harder to build, something that cannot be downloaded, automated, or copied. It will be trust. We live in a world where everything is available. Answers are instant, tools are endless, anyone can publish, anyone can perform, anyone can claim expertise. And because of that, something strange has happened. The more information we have, the less confident we feel. The more voices we hear, the harder it becomes to know which ones matter. When everything is loud, people don't look for more noise. They look for someone they can believe. Trust is what turns information into influence. Trust is what turns words into action. Trust is what makes people stay when they have every reason to leave. And yet, most of us are chasing the wrong currency. We chase attention. We chase visibility. We chase metrics that look impressive on a screen. But attention is fragile. Visibility is temporary, and metrics do not mean loyalty. You can have thousands of people watching you and still have no one who would stand by you when it counts. Trust is different. Trust is not built in moments of success. It is built in moments of choice. When doing the right thing costs you something, when honesty is inconvenient, when consistency is boring. Trust is built when your actions remain the same even when the audience disappears. In 2026, technology will continue to make us faster, smarter, more efficient. Artificial intelligence will answer questions in seconds. Automation will complete tasks we once thought required human hands. The world will move at a speed that feels impossible to keep up with. And when everything becomes fast, people will start to crave something that is not. They will crave something stable. They will look for leaders who don't change direction with every trend. They will look for brands that don't compromise values for quick growth. They will look for voices that don't say what is popular, but what is true. Because when the world becomes uncertain, trust becomes safety. Trust is not about perfection. It is about predictability. Not predictable in behavior, but predictable in values. People don't need you to always be right. They need to know what you stand for. When they know what you stand for, they can decide whether to stand with you. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Trust cannot be built with strategy alone. It cannot be faked. It cannot be rushed. You cannot ask for it before you earn it. And most people don't want to earn it because earning trust requires sacrifice. It requires choosing long-term respect over short-term reward. It requires saying no when yes would be easier. It requires showing up when there's nothing in it for you. Trust is built when you keep promises that no one would notice if you broke. When you treat people with dignity even when they cannot benefit you. When you admit mistakes instead of hiding them. This is why trust is rare, because it asks us to be the same person in private that we claim to be in public. In a world of performance, trust is character, and character is not revealed by what you say you believe. It is revealed by what you do when believing becomes costly. In 2026, many will compete on capability, who is faster, who is cheaper, who is more advanced. But those are temporary advantages. There will always be someone faster, someone cheaper, someone newer. Trust, however, does not expire. Once someone trusts you, they don't compare you the same way. They don't shop for alternatives the moment something looks slightly better. They don't leave when the first challenge appears. They stay because they believe in who you are, not just what you offer. This is why trust will become the true currency of leadership, business, and influence. People will not follow the most informed voice. They will follow the most reliable one. They will not commit to the most impressive mission. They will commit to the one led by someone who has proven they care. They will not invest their time, their money, or their loyalty in what looks good today. They will invest in what they believe will still be right tomorrow. Trust transforms relationships. It turns customers into advocates. It turns employees into partners. It turns followers into believers. But it starts with a simple question that most never stop to ask. Why do people choose me? Not because I am available, not because I am visible, not because I am convenient, but because they believe I will do the right thing even when it is hard. This is the opportunity most people will miss. They will chase algorithms. They will chase growth hacks. They will chase what works now. And in doing so, they will train people to treat them as replaceable, because when your only promise is performance, you will be judged only by results. But when your promise is character, you create something far more powerful than results. You create trust. Trust allows you to make mistakes without losing respect. Trust allows people to give you the benefit of the doubt. Trust allows you to lead in moments of uncertainty when there is no clear answer. And in the years ahead, there will be many moments with no clear answer. People will look for anchors, not perfection, not certainty, but integrity. The kind that says, I may not know the outcome, but I know what I stand for. This is not a branding strategy. This is not a marketing tactic. This is a way of being. It means deciding what you will never compromise. It means defining your values before circumstances force you to choose. It means building systems, cultures, and habits that reinforce who you are even when no one is watching. Because the moment you treat trust as a tool, you lose it. Trust is not what you use to get wa. You want, trust is what you protect, even when it costs you what you want, bar. In 2026, many will ask how to grow faster, how to scale bigger, br, how to dominate their space, br. But the real question will be simpler. How do I become someone people can rely on? Because the future does not belong to those who promise the most. It belongs to those who keep their promises. The future does not belong to those who speak the loudest. It belongs to those who live their values the quietest, br. And when trust becomes the currency of choice, those who have invested in it for years will suddenly find themselves rich in what truly matters, br. Not just in success, br, but in loyalty, dr, in influence. In meaning, br, trust will not make you famous overnight, br, but it will make you relevant for a lifetime. And in a world that is changing faster than ever before, that may be the greatest opportunity of all. For a long time, we were told a simple story, br. Work harder than everyone else. Br, sleep less. Br, say yes to everything. Outrun your competition, br. And for a while, that story worked, br. It built companies, br. It built careers, br. It built impressive results. But it also built something else, bar, exhaustion, br, disconnection. And a generation that knows how to stay busy, but not always how to stay fulfilled. In 2026, this will no longer be a quiet problem. It will be visible everywhere. Burnout will not be an exception. It will be normal. People will not just be tired of working hard. They will be tired of working hard for things that do not feel worth the cost. This is where the hidden opportunity begins. Not in doing more, but in doing what matters. Because hustle without meaning is not ambition. It is survival. And survival may keep you moving, but it will never show you where you are going. Purpose is different. Purpose is not a motivational quote. It is not a vague idea of passion. It is not something you say to sound inspiring. Purpose is your reason for enduring when the work becomes difficult, uncertain, or slow, when the early excitement fades, when recognition does not come, when progress feels invisible. Hustle asks, how much can I get today? Purpose asks, why does this matter in the long run? And that difference will define who thrives in the years ahead. Because in a world that never stops moving, only those who know why they are moving will avoid burning out. Most people confuse movement with progress. They fill their days, they stack their schedules, they celebrate how busy they are. But being busy is not the same as being useful, and productivity without direction is just motion. You can climb a ladder very quickly, only to realize it is leaning against the wrong wall. Purpose is what tells you which wall is worth climbing. It is what gives meaning to the sacrifice. It is what transforms effort into fulfillment. It is what turns work from something you endure into something you believe in. Without purpose, success feels strangely empty. You achieve the goal and immediately look for another. You reach the milestone and wonder why it didn't change how you feel. With purpose, even the struggle has value because you are not just chasing outcomes. You are contributing to something that matters beyond you. This is why purpose will outperform hustle in 2026. Not because hustle disappears, but because hustle without purpose will no longer be sustainable. The world is changing too fast. Pressure is increasing, expectations are rising. If the only thing pushing you forward is the fear of falling behind, you will eventually stop. But when you are pulled by something meaningful, you keep going even when it hurts. Purpose does not eliminate hardship. It gives hardship a reason. And people don't quit because the work is hard. They quit because the work is meaningless. When you understand why you do what you do, effort becomes an expression of values, not a reaction to pressure. That is where the opportunity lies. Organizations that define what they stand for will attract people who want more than a paycheck. Leaders who articulate why their work matters will inspire loyalty, not just compliance. Individuals who align their actions with their beliefs will find energy where others feel only fatigue, because purpose does something remarkable. It replaces external motivation with internal commitment. You no longer need to be constantly pushed. You choose to show up. And in a world where most people are running because they are afraid to stop, those who move with intention will stand out. But here's what makes purpose rare. Purpose requires clarity, and clarity requires courage. It forces you to decide what you will say no to, what you will not chase, what success actually means to you. Hustle culture is comfortable because it avoids these questions. It says, do everything, be everywhere, take every opportunity. Purpose asks something harder. What is truly worth your time? Not everything that pays is worth pursuing. Not every opportunity aligns with who you want to become. Not every form of growth is the right kind of growth. Purpose is not about doing what you love all the time. It is about loving why you do what you do. There will still be long nights. There will still be sacrifice. There will still be moments of doubt. The difference is not the absence of struggle, it is the presence of meaning. When your work serves only your ego, pressure feels heavy. When your work serves something bigger than you, pressure feels worthwhile. In 2026, the organizations that win will not be the ones that extract the most effort. They will be the ones that inspire the most belief. People will not give their best to environments that treat them as resources. They will give their best to environments that remind them they matter. Purpose-driven cultures will not just outperform, they will outlast. Because people do not build their lives around jobs. They build their lives around causes and where. And work becomes connected to something meaningful. It becomes more than work. It becomes identity. This is also true for individuals. When you are driven only by results, your sense of worth rises and falls with outcomes. When you are driven by purpose, your worth is rooted in contribution. You no longer ask, am I winning today? You ask, am I moving in the right direction? And direction matters more than speed. In the coming years, many will chase what looks successful: titles, revenue, recognition. But the true advantage will belong to those who define success on their own terms, not by what impresses others, but by what fulfills their values. Because the question is not whether you can work hard. Most people can. The question is whether your hard work is aligned with something that will still matter when the applause fades. Purpose is not found in comfort. It is found in responsibility. Responsibility to people, responsibility to impact, responsibility to a cause that is larger than personal gain. And when you take responsibility for something meaningful, work stops being about you. It becomes about service. Service is what creates trust. Service is what builds loyalty. Service is what gives work a soul. In 2026, the marketplace will reward those who stand for something. Consumers will choose brands they believe in. Employees will choose leaders they trust. Communities will support those who show they care, not because it is trendy, but because in a RLD, overwhelmed by speed and noise, meaning will become a refuge. People are not just looking for convenience anymore. They are looking for connection, not just products, but purpose. This does not mean abandoning ambition. It means redefining it. Ambition without purpose asks, how far can I go? Ambition with purpose asks, how many can I bring with me? And that is the kind of ambition that creates legacy. Hustle may get you attention. Purpose earns you respect. Hustle may produce results. Purpose produces impact. And impact is what lasts when trends fade and markets change. So the opportunity is not simply to work harder in 2026. The opportunity is to work with meaning, to decide what you stand for before the world demands you choose, to align your actions with your values before pressure tempts you to compromise, to build something that serves more than your own success. Because when the work is connected to something that matters, fatigue does not disappear, but it becomes bearable. Sacrifice does not vanish, but it becomes worthwhile. And effort does not feel like loss, but like contribution. The future will not belong to those who move the fastest. It will belong to those who know why they are moving. And in a world that is increasingly busy, noisy, and demanding, purpose will not just be an advantage, it will be the reason you endure. For years, we were taught to believe that success looks like scale, more followers, more customers, more reach, more visibility. Bigger was always better. If your audience was growing, you were winning. If your numbers were rising, you were relevant. If your name was everywhere, you mattered. But in 2026, something fundamental will become clear. Reach does not equal impact. You can be seen by thousands and still be unknown. You can be heard by millions and still be ignored. You can go viral and disappear just as quickly, because attention is easy to earn, but connection is hard to build, and the future will belong not to those who chase everyone, but to those who serve someone. Small communities will not be a limitation. They will be the advantage in a world that is louder than ever. People are not looking for more voices. They are looking for belonging. They want to feel understood. They want to feel seen. They want to feel that they matter to someone. A massive audience can admire you, but a small community will stand with you. Admiration fades. Belonging endures. This is the shift most people will miss. They will keep optimizing for algorithms. They will keep chasing viral moments. They will keep measuring success in likes, views, and numbers that look impressive but say very little about trust. And in doing so, they will build platforms, not relationships. Platforms give you exposure. Relationships give you loyalty. And loyalty is what sustains you when the trends change. Small communities create something that scale never can. They create identity. When people don't just consume what you create, but feel part of what you represent, your work stops being content. It becomes culture. Culture is not built by broadcasting. It is built by caring enough to listen, caring enough to respond, caring enough to serve the needs of real people, not abstract metrics. This is why small communities will win in 2026, because people are tired of being treated as numbers. They don't want to be an audience. They want to belong. They want to know that their voice matters, that their presence makes a difference, that they are not invisible in a sea of millions. Belonging creates responsibility. When people feel part of something, they show up differently. They contribute. They protect what they are part of. They advocate for it when you are not in the room. A large audience may watch you. A community will carry your message forward. And that is the real power. Influence is not measured by how many people hear you today. It is measured by how many people continue what you started when you are not there. Small communities create depth, and depth outperforms width, because depth builds trust. Depth builds meaning. Depth builds something that does not disappear when attention shifts. This is true for leaders. A leader who knows everyone's name, who understands their struggles, who takes time to listen, will always outperform the one who speaks to thousands but connects with none. It is true for creators. A creator who serves a few deeply will always outlast the one who entertains many superficially. And it is true for businesses. A business with a loyal base of customers who believe in what it stands for will always be stronger than one that depends on constant advertising to replace those who leave. Small communities are not fragile. They are resilient because they are built on relationships, not reach. Relationships create trust. Trust creates loyalty. Loyalty creates stability. And in a world that changes as fast as ours does, stability is priceless. But building a community is harder than building an audience. An audience can be bought. A community must be earned. An audience requires content. A community requires care. It demands time. It demands listening. It demands consistency. You cannot automate belonging. Belonging is created when people feel valued not for what they give you, but for who they are. This is why many will avoid this path, because it is slower, because it is quieter, because it does not offer the instant validation of numbers climbing on a screen. But what it offers instead is something far more powerful: commitment. When people belong, they don't leave when something goes wrong. They don't disappear when you make a mistake. They don't abandon you when the next trend appears. They stay because they are part of something that feels personal. This is not about exclusivity. It is about intimacy. Not in the sense of closeness for its own sake, but in the sense of understanding. understanding what your people care about, understanding what they struggle with, understanding what they need, even when they cannot articulate it. When you build with that level of attention, you don't just create followers, you create advocates. Advocates do not just support you, they defend you, they recommend you, they bring others not because they are told to, but because they believe in what you represent. This is how movements are built, not through mass marketing, but through shared belief. Every great movement in history started small. A few people who believed in an idea, a few who were willing to commit, a few who cared enough to act. It was never about how many people were watching in the beginning. It was about how deeply those few believed. In 2026, this pattern will repeat in business, leadership, and creativity. The leaders who invest in people, not just growth, will endure. The brands that build relationships, not just reach, will thrive. The creators who serve communities, not just algorithms, will remain relevant. Because while attention can be borrowed, loyalty must be built. And loyalty is what gives you freedom. Freedom from chasing every new platform. Freedom from pleasing everyone. Freedom from redefining yourself every time the market shifts. When you have a community, you don't have to ask, how do I stay visible? You ask, how do I continue to serve? Service keeps you grounded. Service keeps you focused. Service keeps you aligned with what actually matters. And when you focus on serving those who believe in you, growth becomes a byproduct, not the goal. This is the paradox. Those who chase scale often struggle to sustain it. Those who focus on connection often find that growth follows naturally, not because they demanded attention, but because people invited others into something meaningful. Belonging is contagious. When people feel part of something real, they want to share it, but they share it, not as consumers, but as members. And members are not passive. They participate, they contribute, they take ownership. This is what makes small communities powerful. They do not depend on you alone. They grow because everyone feels responsible for what they are part of. In a world obsessed with being seen, choosing to serve deeply will feel countercultural, but that is precisely why it will work. Because when everyone is trying to be everywhere, those who choose to be present will stand out. Presence creates trust. Trust creates loyalty. Loyalty creates impact. And impact is what outlasts attention. So the future will not belong to those who accumulate the largest crowds. It will belong to those who build the strongest connections, not those who are known by many, but those who are trusted by a few. Because in the end, success is not about how many people know your name. It is about how many people would miss you if you were gone. And in 2026, that will be the true Mazu. Of influence. For decades, we measured value by what someone could do, what skills they had, what systems they could operate, what problems they could solve. If you were efficient, you were valuable. If you were fast, you were in demand. If you were technically capable, you were secure. But in 2026, the world will make something unmistakably clear. What you can do will no longer be what sets you apart. Because machines will do more. Automation will handle more. Artificial intelligence will think faster, calculate better, and execute with fewer errors than any human ever could. Tasks that once required years of training will become accessible in seconds. Processes that once needed teams will be completed by systems. And when ability becomes common, something else becomes rare. Humanity. Not emotion for the sake of emotion. Not softness for the sake of comfort. But the deeply human skills that technology cannot replicate. Empathy, judgment, courage, integrity, communication, leadership. These will become the premium skills of the future. Not because machines will fail, but because machines cannot care. They can analyze behavior. They can predict patterns. They can generate responses, but they cannot understand meaning. They cannot feel responsibility. They cannot inspire belief. They cannot choose what is right over what is efficient. And people do not commit to efficiency. They commit to people in every organization, in every movement, in every moment. Of real change, the difference has never been the tools. It has always been the humans who chose how to use them. Technology may tell you what is possible, but only humans decide what is right. In 2026, technical skill will be expected. It will be the baseline. But what will distinguish leaders, creators and professionals will not be what they know. It will be how they lead, how they listen, how they respond under pressure, how they treat others when there is nothing to gain. Because as systems become more capable, people will crave something that systems cannot provide: understanding. People do not want to be managed by processes. They want to be led by someone who sees them. They do not want to be treated as data points. They want to be treated as human beings. They want to know that their work matters, that their voice is heard, that they are not replaceable simply because technology has become faster. This is why human skills will become premium, not because they are new, but because they will be rare. For too long, we have optimized for performance while neglecting connection. We have rewarded results without always questioning how they were achieved. We have celebrated growth without asking what it cost. And in doing so, we have created environments that are productive, but not always healthy, efficient, but not always meaningful. In 2026, people will no longer accept this trade-off. They will choose workplaces where they feel valued. They will choose leaders they trust. They will choose brands that understand them, not just sell to them, because in a world where technology makes everything faster, people will seek what makes things feel real. That is what human skills provide. Empathy is not about being nice, it is about understanding what someone needs, even when they cannot articulate it. Understanding the weight of a decision on real lives, not just outcomes. Understanding that behind every metric is a human being. Judgment is not about having information. It is about knowing what matters, knowing when to push and when to pause, when to compete and when to collaborate, when to choose growth and when to choose integrity. Courage is not about confidence. It is about responsibility, the responsibility to speak when silence would be easier, to protect people when doing so carries risk, to make decisions based on values, not convenience. Communication is not about talking. It is about connection. Not what you say, but what people understand. Not how much you explain, but how clearly you make others feel. Leadership is not about authority. It is about trust. Trust that you will act in the best interest of others. Trust that you will stand by your principles when pressure rises. Trust that you see people not as resources, but as human beings. These are not soft skills. They are the hardest skills to master because they require self-awareness. They require emotional intelligence. They require humility. You cannot download them. You cannot automate them. You cannot fake them for long. And this is why they will define who thrives in the years ahead. As technology takes over what is repeatable, predictable, and procedural, what remains will be deeply human. Ambiguity, ethics, relationships, meaning. When the answers are not obvious, people will look for leaders they can trust. When the path is uncertain, they will follow those who make them feel safe. When the systems are complex, they will rely on those who can simplify without losing what matters. This is not a rejection of technology. It is a rebalancing of what we value. The question will no longer be, what can you do? It will be, who are you when you do it? Because performance without character is fragile. It works until pressure appears, and pressure always appears. In moments of crisis, people do not ask who is the most efficient. They ask who they can trust, who will tell the truth, who will take responsibility, who will put people before outcomes. These moments reveal what was always there. And in 2026, those moments will come more often. Rapid change, economic uncertainty, technological disruption. In such a world, technical excellence alone will not be enough. People will follow those who give them clarity when there is confusion, those who give them reassurance when there is fear, those who give them purpose when there is uncertainty. This is the opportunity most will overlook. They will invest in tools. They will upgrade systems. They will learn new platforms, all of which matter. But they will neglect the one thing that cannot be outsourced, how they treat people. They will forget that culture is not created by software. It is created by behavior. They will forget that loyalty is not built by features. It is built by relationships. They will forget that trust is not established by performance alone. It is established by character over time. Human skills turn transactions into relationships. They turn customers into advocates. They turn teams into communities. And communities do not disappear when conditions change. They endure. In 2026, the most valuable professionals will not be those who simply execute tasks. They will be those who can navigate conflict without destroying trust, make decisions that balance logic with empathy, communicate vision in a way that inspires commitment, lead through uncertainty without losing integrity. These are not skills you learn in a weekend. They are developed through reflection, through failure, through choosing growth over comfort. They require you to look inward before you lead outward, to understand your values before you influence others, to define what you stand for before the world asks you to compromise. Because when you know who you are, you lead with clarity. And clarity creates confidence. Not the loud kind, the steady kind, the kind that makes people feel safe to follow you. In a future shaped by machines, humanity will become the differentiator. Not as sentiment, but as strategy. Not as softness, but as strength. The strongest leaders will be those who can combine competence with compassion. The most successful organizations will be those that build systems without forgetting souls. The most respected individuals will be those who remain human in a world becoming increasingly automated. So the question is not whether you will adapt to technology. You will have to. The real question is whether you will invest in the one thing that technology cannot replace: your humanity. How you listen, how you decide, how you treat people when no one is watching. Because in 2026, when everyone has access to the same tools, the only true advantage left will be who you choose to be. And in the end, people will not remember what you automated. They will remember how you made them feel. We live in a world that is addicted to speed, faster results, instant answers, overnight success. We celebrate what happens quickly and forget what takes time. We reward what is visible now and ignore what is quietly being built beneath the surface. And because of that, we have begun to confuse movement with progress. If something is happening fast, we assume it is working. If something is growing slowly, we assume it is failing. But in 2026, this illusion will become impossible to ignore, because while most people will still be chasing what is next, the real advantage will belong to those who have been preparing for what lasts. Long-term thinking will become rare. And because it is rare, it will become powerful. Not because it is complicated, but because it is uncomfortable. Long-term thinking requires patience in a world that celebrates immediacy. It requires discipline in a culture that rewards impulse. It requires faith in a future you cannot yet see. And most people do not want to wait. They want results now. They want recognition now. They want certainty now. So they make decisions based on what feels good today, not what will still be right tomorrow. They choose speed over stability, growth over values, convenience over character. And in doing so, they trade what is meaningful for what is measurable. But what is measurable is not always what matters. Long-term thinking is not about predicting the future. It is about preparing for it. It is about asking a different question. Not what will get me ahead this year, but what kind of person, organization, or leader will I become if I keep making this choice? Because every decision you make is not just producing a result. It is shaping who you are becoming. Short-term thinking asks, what can I gain? Long-term thinking asks, who am I becoming? And in the years ahead, that difference will define who endures. In 2026, many will still be reacting to trends, reacting to markets, reacting to what others are doing. They will pivot constantly, change direction frequent, abandon strategies. The moment results slow down, not because they are careless, but because they are afraid of being left behind. Fear creates urgency. Urgency creates speed, but speed without direction creates instability. When you are always reacting, you are always following. Long-term thinking is different. It does not ignore the present. It simply refuses to be controlled by it. It understands that the greatest achievements are not built in moments of excitement, but in years of consistency. You do not build trust overnight. You do not build a culture in a quarter. You do not build mastery in a month. Yet most people measure success in days, They want proof quickly. They want validation immediately. They want outcomes before foundations, but foundations are invisible. No one applauds the preparation. No one celebrates the quiet work. No one notices the habits that compound over time. Until one day, the results appear, and everyone asks how it happened so suddenly. It was never sudden. It was built patiently, deliberately, quietly. This is why long-term thinking will be such a powerful advantage, because while most are focused on what is trending, few are focused on what is enduring. While most are chasing what is popular, few are protecting what is principle. And in the long run, principles outlast popularity. Trends fade, shortcuts collapse, quick wins disappear, but values endure. When you build on values, you build something that can survive. Pressure from competition, pressure from markets, pressure from change, because values give you direction when circumstances become unclear. Long-term thinkers do not ask what will make us look good right now. They ask what will still be right when no one is watching. That question changes everything. It changes how you lead. It changes how you grow. It changes what you are willing to sacrifice. You stop asking how fast can we go and start asking how strong do we want to be. Strength is built over time. Trust is built over time. Reputation is built over time. Character is built over time. There is no shortcut. And yet the world continues to offer us faster ways, faster success, faster money, faster influence, but speed without stability is fragile. It looks impressive until the first storm arrives, and storms always arrive. Economic shifts, technological disruption, cultural change. In those moments, those who built quickly often struggle to stand. Those who built slowly often remain, not because they are lucky, but because they invested in what does not break easily. Long-term thinking is not about moving slowly. It is about moving intentionally. It means choosing consistency over intensity. It means choosing progress over performance. It means choosing integrity over immediacy. It means doing the right thing even when it is not rewarded, even when it is not noticed, even when it is not celebrated, because long-term thinkers understand something most people forget. The future is not something you arrive at. It is something you create through what you do today. Every habit you form is a vote for the person you will become. Every decision you repeat becomes your direction. Every compromise you justify becomes part of your identity. And identity compounds. Small choices repeated daily shape outcomes more than dramatic actions taken once. You do not become trusted because of one good decision. You become trusted because of a pattern of consistent behavior. You do not build a meaningful career through one breakthrough. You build it through years of showing up, learning, and improving. You do not create impact by chasing moments. You create impact by committing to a mission. This is what makes long-term thinking difficult. There is no immediate reward, no applause, no headlines, no instant proof. There is only the quiet confidence that what you are building will matter later. And that requires something most people struggle with. Faith. Faith in your values. Faith in your direction. Faith that what you are doing now, even when it feels slow, is shaping something meaningful. In 2026, many will feel pressure to change who they are in order to keep up, to compromise standards, to stay competitive, to abandon principles to stay relevant, to choose speed over substance. But those who think long-term will choose differently. They will protect their culture even when growth is tempting. They will protect their people even when profit is pressured. They will protect their integrity even when shortcuts seem attractive, because they understand that success without stability is not success. It is fragility disguised as achievement. Long-term thinking also changes how you define winning. Winning is no longer about beating others today. It is about still being standing tomorrow. Not about dominating a moment, but about building something that lasts beyond you. This is the mindset that creates legacy. Not fame, not fortune, but impact that continues after the spotlight fades. Legacy is not built by chasing recognition. It is built by making choices that others may not see, but will feel. Choices that protect people. Choices that strengthen culture. Choices that prioritize what is right over what is easy. In a world obsessed with immediacy, this kind of thinking will feel countercultural. But that is exactly why it will work. Because when everyone else is sprinting, those who pace themselves will still be running when the others are exhausted. When everyone else is reacting, those who have direction will be leading. When everyone else is chasing what is new, those who have invested in what is true will be trusted. Long-term thinking is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It does not make headlines, but it builds something far more powerful than attention. It builds resilience. Resilience in leadership, resilience in organizations, resilience in character. And resilience is what allows you to adapt without losing who you are. The world will change, technology will evolve, markets will shift. But values, when truly lived, do not become obsolete. They become anchors. Anchors do not stop movement. They give it stability. So the opportunity in 2026 will not be in predicting the next trend. It will be in becoming the kind of person, leader, or organization that can endure whatever comes next. Not by moving faster, but by thinking further. Not by chasing what is urgent, but by committing to what is important. Because in the end, the future does not belong to those who act quickly. It belongs to those who act with intention. Those who are willing to plant seeds today, even when they will not be the ones to sit in the shade. Those who understand that real success is not measured by how quickly you rise, but by how long you can stand. And in 2026, in a world driven by speed, long-term thinking will not just be an advantage. It will be the difference between those who are remembered for a moment and those who are remembered for what they built. As we look toward 2026, the future does not belong to those who move the fastest, shout the loudest, or chase every new trend. It belongs to those who choose to build what lasts. The world will continue to change. Technology will accelerate. Markets will shift. Expectations will rise. But beneath all that motion, something timeless remains. People still follow what they trust, commit to what has meaning, belong to what makes them feel seen, believe in those who lead with humanity, and respect those who think beyond the moment. Trust will become the currency of influence, not because it is fashionable, but because it is rare. Purpose will outlast hustle, not because work becomes easier, but because meaning makes effort sustainable. Small communities will outgrow massive audiences, not because scale disappears, but because belonging creates loyalty. Human skills will surpass tech. Nickel ability, not because technology fails, but because people still choose people. And long-term thinking will separate those who rise quickly from those who endure. These are not strategies, they are choices. Choices about who you are when no one is watching. Choices about what you stand for when pressure demands compromise. Choices about whether you will chase what is popular or protect what is principled. The future is not shaped by what happens to us. It is shaped by what we choose to build. You can choose to seek attention, or you can choose to earn trust. You can choose to stay busy, or you can choose to work with meaning. You can choose to grow wide, or you can choose to grow deep. You can choose to rely on systems, or you can choose to invest in people. You can choose what feels urgent today, or what will still matter tomorrow. None of these choices are easy. They require patience in a world that demands speed. They require courage in a culture that rewards convenience. They require responsibility in an environment that often avoids it. But they also create something rare. They create stability in uncertainty. They create clarity in chaos. They create leadership in a time when many are only reacting. The question is not whether the world will change. The question is whether you will change in a way that costs you who you are. Because success without integrity is fragile. Growth without purpose is empty. Influence without trust is temporary. What endures is not how fast you move, but how firmly you stood. Not how many people noticed you, but how many people believed in you. Not how much you achieved, but what you built that could outlive you. So as 2026 approaches, do not ask only what opportunity lies ahead. Ask who you are becoming in the process. Are you building something that serves more than yourself? Are you choosing what is right over what is easy? Are you planting seeds you may never personally benefit from? Because the greatest legacy is not success that shines for a moment. It is impact that remains when the spotlight fades. The future will not belong to the loudest voices or the fastest movers. It will belong to those who lead with trust, act with purpose, build with humanity, serve with connection, and think beyond today. And if you choose that path, 2026 will not simply be another year. It will be the beginning of something that truly lasts.